Welcome to the Human Nature Channel. I'm your host, Alex Tamsula, and what am I doing here besides drinking brandy from a sniffer? Well, it's Tuesday night once again here at my dad's Fortunate Farm Garage. Fortunate for me, I think this is the best backdrop a YouTube video maker could have. Plus, the place is just full of props I can play with. You may have noticed that the garage door behind me is closed. The air outside has become seasonably cool, and I would rather it stay out there than come in here. Now, I'm still not 100% over the problems I'm having with these allergies. Sunday night I went out to dinner with my silent partner, and when we went back to my apartment to watch a movie, that's when I got hit with the fatigue. And that has been a recurrent problem with whatever it is I have. Everything will be fine, and then you get hit with the fatigue, and then you snap out of it, and then the fatigue comes back over and over again. Whenever I do these videos, I take a lot of pride in bringing a lot of energy and enthusiasm to them. And if I feel like I'm not giving you 100%, I'm not happy about it. But the show must go on. And like I've said before, there's always something interesting here in my dad's garage. What can I show you tonight? Now, this thing is a Bradley smoker for smoking meats. Whenever it's up and running, one of the buttons says Biscuit Advance. This is a biscuit. It's a chunk of pressed wood that will get burned and turn into smoke. Goes down this chute right here. We've smoked ham in this thing, smoked beef, made beef jerky. My dad's even smoked cheese in this. One time he took slices of potato and smoked them. So he gave me a couple of them, right? I'm like eating them, I'm like, what is that? I can't even recognize what it tastes like. He's like, smoked slice of potato. You never know what this guy's gonna come up with. But as you may have noticed, meat preparation is a theme in this garage, and this is just one more gizmo most people don't have in their basements. Well, I think I've got everything I need. I've got a very small globe, which I think is pretty nifty. And it also happens to be a very old map of the world. I'm looking at this thing, and apparently Asia and northern Canada are one large landmass. I don't think that's right. And I don't know if you can see it, but down in Antarctica, there appears to be unicorns. Who knew? It's a small world after all. Speaking of unicorns, I happen to have a ceramic unicorn right here, which I think is pretty nifty. I think it was made right around the time my brother made Irv, and knowing my brother, that striped horn is probably for jabbing Irv in the rear end. I got my pointer with a magnet on it. I feel kind of bad for him. I had to retire my hillbilly teleprompter, and my pointer had to go on unemployment. But in this economy, a smart guy like him should find a job with no trouble. I've got a big glass jug with an eagle on it. Mason's patent, November 30th, 1858. Don't ask me why we have this thing. And finally, circular saw blade art. The blade in a circular saw becomes dull, but one man's trash is another man's treasure, and some genius thought it would be a great idea to paint a winter scene on it. I'm telling you, you never know what you're going to find in a flea market in Western Pennsylvania farm country. Oh, that's why I love this place. I mean, it's amazing. It's incredible. The title of this video is Odds and Ends, since there are some issues concerning the Las Vegas shooting I'd like to touch on. Things that are part of the official record and are known, but as far as I can tell have received little commentary. They are disparate facts. I'll be jumping from one to another. There isn't going to be a grand unifying theme like in my last couple of videos, other than these things are part of the lore of the Las Vegas Route 91 Harvest Festival Massacre, and I find them intriguing. I'll do some analysis on them, and as always, I invite your comments. Something I've wanted to do for a while now was to go back to the Field Investigation Team report and look at the lock interrogation report in appendices A and B. For the one or two of you out there who don't know what this is, it's a spreadsheet timeline of all the events happening to the doors to rooms 32-135 and 32-134, like when these doors were opened and closed, or were accessed with the use of a key card, or denied access. The FIT report printed these spreadsheeted door actions sideways and started at the end. In the case of room 32-135, starting with the ping from the server on 10/2/17 at 7:35 a.m., then working backwards to 9/25/17 at 11:57 a.m., where the notation says door is closed. There is 7 pages of this for 32-135. Same thing with room 32-134, although there are only 4 pages starting on 9/29/17. Before I need a trip to a chiropractor to get my neck adjusted from reading with my head sideways, I decided to print out all the pages and then put them in chronological order. I wanted to read it like that to see if anything strange jumped out at me. Something strange did jump out at me, but I'll save that for last. Before I got started writing my script, I wanted to watch any other videos out there that covered the lock interrogation report, so at least I had some background. I went to Google to see what was available on the lock interrogation report, and to my surprise, I found out there wasn't much there. Now, that could be a result of the YouTube purge of what it considers fake news, which went into effect after the 2016 election. A lot of YouTube videos covering what I call insufficiently investigated crimes and what everybody else calls conspiracy theory had been saved to my favorite places. Yeah, call me crazy, I still use AOL. But out of curiosity, I went back to these videos to see what was still there and discovered many of them had been replaced with variations on the notice, "This video has been removed." So it didn't surprise me there is little on the FIT report's lock interrogation report. However, there was one video I found, and I'd like to mention it because it was quite interesting. It is from the YouTube channel of Daniel James. His video was titled Las Vegas Shooting Lock Interrogation Report Discrepancy Animation. Really? Mr. James actually went to the trouble of taking the descriptions from the lock interrogation report and made a computer animation with an icon for Stephen Paddock that visualized what he was doing? It's a stroke of genius if you ask me. Everybody should check this one out. Mr. James here shows there is still ambiguity pertaining to where exactly Stephen Paddock was in the half hour prior to the shooting. As usual, all videos and web stories I mention will have a link in the notes section below. For this particular animation, Mr. James tells us, I will only be highlighting the activity between 9:29 p.m. and 9:34 p.m. And believe me, folks, there is a lot of weird shit going on between those times in the Mandalay Bay on the 32nd floor on October 1st, 2017. If you have a printout of the first page of the lock interrogation report for room 32-135 and 32-134 from appendices A and B, like I do, you could cross-reference and follow along. Get that bottle of aspirin ready, you're going to need it. The big takeaway from Mr. James's video, for me at any rate, is that our shooter, insert name here, is a busy little bee in a brief period of time. Pertaining to room 32134, we see Paddock open the door from the inside. Error, smart card reading. Guest card accepted. Then door closed. Then we pick up the action in room 32135. Door open from inside, then deadbolt released. Hey, wait 1 second. I know I'm just a simple country boy, but shouldn't that be the other way around? Like, don't you release the deadbolt and then open the door? Anyway, guest card accepted is next, then door closed. From that point on, it seems as if our shooter, insert name here, will spend the next 2 minutes not messing with the doors. And it's at this point where we get the ambiguity, because we can't really be sure if Stephen Paddock is outside in the hallway, inside 32135, or even if he let somebody in. Next, there is movement at 9:31 p.m. Of room 32134, we see error, no access to this room. Then guest card accepted. Then the door is opened. Then the door is closed. At 9:32, it's back to room 32135, and the spreadsheet says, and video timeline tells us, error, no access, error, no access. At 9:33, we're told the door to room 32135 is opened from the inside. Whoa, hold the phone. Doesn't error, no access mean you are outside the room trying to get in? Unless Paddock did something really bizarre, like opening the door to room 32135 with a rope tied to the inside door handle and then went down and under the door so that Paddock could open the door from the outside by pulling the rope, making it look like he was still inside the room, then swiping the wrong key card through the lock to get the error no access response. All I can say is this is some kind of messed up. I'm going to end talking about Mr. James's video here, just to say there is a lot more to it, but you get the gist. It's very provocative, very original, very accurate, and very good. Go watch. Next, we're going to talk about something in the Lock Interrogation report I don't think anybody has taken a good look at yet. Maybe nobody has looked at this because the Lock Interrogation report is difficult to deal with as it's printed. Maybe nobody thought to look at what was going on with the doors to rooms 32135 and 32134 prior to October 1st. But did you know there were people who ran their key cards through the door locks to Paddock's rooms in the days prior to the Route 91 Harvest Festival massacre? Or had some kind of key card issue? Oh yeah. We got their names right here, and we're going to look at them one at a time to see who they are. The last name might blow your mind. Our first guest, pun intended, is a Krista Thornton, who on September 30th ran her key card through the lock to room 32134 twice, once at 3:04 a.m. and again at 3:05. This registered in the Lock Interrogation report as error, no access to this room. So, who is Krista Thornton? I went to Google and typed in Las Vegas shooting Krista Thornton and nothing came up. There is a Mandy Thornton from Merrimack Valley, Massachusetts, who traveled to Las Vegas to attend the Route 91 Harvest Festival and got through it unharmed. But Mandy doesn't seem to have any connection to Krista. So it seems safe to assume there is nothing to Krista Thornton running her card through the lock to Stephen Paddock's second room except as a mistake. Unless you're of the mind that somebody with no internet or social media footprint is suspicious all by itself, but I can't control what somebody is going to think. The next name in the Lock Interrogation report for room 32134 is one Manny Sandhu. On 9/30/17 at 7:35 p.m., we see the notation, error guest card overridden. Manny is an interesting guy, a Las Vegas resident. If you go to Google and type in his name, you'll find two items. One is his LinkedIn page, where we're told he is a director at Arnosh Restaurants, LLC. The other has him as a real estate agent working with an agency called Simply Vegas. From what I can make out, error guest card overridden means just that. The card is being overridden because that was the last guest booked to the room and has subsequently checked out. This makes Manny the last person to occupy room 32134 before Stephen Paddock did. You heard it here first. However, there is no indication Manny ever interacted with or even saw Stephen Paddock. So that's that. Now, looking at the lock interrogation report for room 32135, the first name noted is one Shauna McQuinlan, where we see at 10:05 on September 25th, error guest card overridden. If you type Shauna McQuinlan and Las Vegas shooting into Google, you'll see an interesting article from the Altoona Mirror. Local family stayed in Vegas room. Couple hosted party in suite used by gunman days later. The article tells us McQuinlan and fiancée Yanel Leandre of New York welcomed about 40 guests for a pre-wedding party in the large suite with uninterrupted views of the Las Vegas Strip. A few days after they checked out, Stephen Paddock used the same suite to kill 59 and wound 527. The Sunday night hail of gunfire was the worst mass shooting in modern U.S. history. About 10 people originally from Altoona and Hollidaysburg celebrated in the same 32nd floor suite, beginning September 22nd. The newlyweds checked out September 25th. What we learn in the article is that Shauna McQuinlan's checkout day coincides with error guest card overridden. And again, no reason to believe McQuinlan or Leandre or any of the 40 guests ever crossed paths with Stephen Paddock. It seems like a bad case of happenstance. But then we see the other name mentioned in the lock interrogation report for room 32135, and it is one Albert Garzon. On September 29th at 10:54 p.m., apparently Albert walked up to room 32135 and swiped his key card through the lock. This registered in the lock interrogation report as error, no access to this room. Here is where things start to get into believe it or not territory. Have you ever heard the name Albert Garzon before? If you type his name and Las Vegas shooting into Google, you'll get a slew of articles telling us Garzon's story. The first one I saw was from Fox5 San Diego. Headline: Gunman complained about music from San Diego couple's room hours before shooting. The banner to the video interview with Mr. Garzon tells us this: a San Diego taco shop owner had encounter with shooter. Couple stayed in Mandalay Bay room below gunman. Well, Albert Garzon didn't exactly encounter Stephen Paddock, but here is his version of events. We're all playing the music, and then security came up to our room and said, "Hey, you have a guest right above you that's complaining that you're being too loud." And out of respect, I didn't think twice about it. I just said, "Yeah, no problem, we'll turn the music down." And then probably another half an hour later, another group of security guys came up and said, "Hey, bud, this is your second time. You have a guest above you who's complaining again, so we got to ask you to turn it down. The third time we come, then your guests are going to have to leave. Obviously, you and your wife can stay." None of us would have ever thought that there was that guy directly right above us, Albert said. Following that, the group headed down to the concert. Once there, the taco shop owner had what he describes as a bad feeling and left the music festival, leaving his wife and friends. He was making his way to the 31st floor when the shots rang out from the 32nd floor. Understandably, Albert declined to show his face in the video interview. But he does have cell phone video of the room above 31135, and he tells us that this is the curtain from the broken window in Paddock's room, flapping in the breeze. However, Albert fails to mention his first encounter with Destiny back on September 29th when he ran the key card through the lock to room 32135. The FIT report asserts, in its investigation timeline, that from 3:09 p.m. on September 29th to 1 a.m. on September 30th, Paddock remained inside rooms 32135 and 32134. We must assume Stephen Paddock was somewhere on the other side of the door when Albert tried his key card. Now, all this might be easily explained away. On September 29th, Albert Garzon got off on the wrong floor and mistakenly went up to the wrong room and tried to gain entry, then realized his mistake and went down to the 31st floor. But Albert doesn't mention this. Maybe he doesn't remember. That's too bad. If Albert Garzon said he was in the vicinity of the man who would in 2 days' time become the biggest mass murderer in U.S. history, that would have made his story astonishing and dramatic. Again, I'm only claiming happenstance here, but it's one hell of a happenstance. First off, on page 126 of the FIT report, we get a blatant falsehood. Investigative findings number 4. Paddock committed no crimes leading up to the October 1st mass shooting. Well, yes he did, as we find on page 110 of the FIT report. Evidence item Dell laptop computer recovered in room 32135. Computer forensics analysis of a Dell laptop model E5570 revealed numerous internet searches for open-air venues. Additionally, several hundred images of child pornography were located on the computer's hard drive. The investigation into the source of these images is ongoing. Really now, here we are, over 2 years later from the October 1st Harvest Festival massacre, and we have yet to hear anything about this ongoing investigation into the source of the child porn images. Although we have gotten stories about Stephen Paddock's brother Bruce being arrested and charged with possession of child porn. The latest thing I was able to find on Bruce comes from the LA Times 6518. The headline reads, "Child pornography charges against a brother of Las Vegas gunman Stephen Paddock were dropped a day after prosecutors asked the judge to postpone the case because a witness was unavailable," officials said. A judge denied the request May 30th, leaving prosecutors unable to move forward with their case against Bruce Douglas Paddock, 59, who is accused of possessing more than 600 pornographic images of children, said Paul Eakins, a spokesman for the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office. Prosecutors plan on refiling charges, Eakins said. Bruce Paddock was arrested at a Valley Village nursing home in October and charged with 20 counts of sexual exploitation of a child or possessing child pornography dating to 2014. He had pleaded not guilty to the charges. Authorities have said their investigation was unrelated to and began before the mass shooting that Paddock's older brother carried out on October 1st, killing 58 people and wounding hundreds more. The inquiry began after evidence was found in a Sun Valley business where Bruce Paddock had been squatting, the Los Angeles Police Department said. That evidence was discovered after Paddock was evicted. Okay, let me ask you this. You have two brothers with a yen for kiddie porn. Do you mean to tell me one brother didn't have any knowledge of what the other brother's proclivities were? I find that hard to believe. Who introduced either Stephen or Bruce Paddock to this stuff? No answers there either. So yes, despite the way the FIT report words it, Stephen Paddock did commit a crime before the October 1st Las Vegas shooting, with evidence of it in his room at the Mandalay Bay. This is evidence that Stephen Paddock was part of a grand conspiracy, the conspiracy of child exploitation, although Paddock was only on the receiving end. So was Bruce. I would be greatly surprised if Stephen and Bruce's interest in this horrible material did not intersect at some point. Lastly, we have Stephen Paddock's Google searches before October 1st, 2017. I'm not going to read them all, but some caught my attention. How tall is Mandalay Bay / unknown date. Nevada gun shows / September 2nd, 2017 and September 30th, 2017. Life is Beautiful 2017 / September 20th, 2017. The Mob Museum / September 23rd, 2017. Hey, Las Vegas is the town Bugsy Siegel built. Discovery Children's Museum / September 23rd, 2017 and September 26th, 2017. Ooh, that's creepy knowing of Paddock's interest in child pornography. And lastly, this search is titled, Where is the hard drive located on E5570 / September 28th, 2017. Ah yes, the infamous missing hard drive, the holy grail of the Las Vegas shooting investigation. Wherever Stephen Paddock disposed of that hard drive, it stayed disposed. The only hint we have of what might have been on it comes from Eric Paddock on page 116 of the Fit Report. And I quote, Eric was upset with Paddock until he learned Paddock had removed the hard drives of the computers found in the hotel room. Eric was upset because Paddock completed the taxes for the family and had cheated on them. Eric was afraid the hard drives would implicate him and his mother for tax evasion. Upon learning the hard drives were missing, Eric said several times, maybe he, Paddock, did care for us. How touching. So Stephen Paddock may have been a tax cheat and definitely had child porn on one of his laptops. And the Fit Report is going to tell us Stephen Paddock committed no crimes before the Route 91 Harvest Festival massacre. If I'm sensitive to the contradictions like that in the Field Investigation Team report, why is it the authors are not? Well, that's it for now. In about 2 hours, I'm going to be heading up to my dad's farm. As you saw from the clip, Irv is already in the car waiting. I'm going to go up there and film more stuff. And I'll talk to you in the next video. Later.